Have you ever noticed something strange? The more available you are, the less people seem to value you. The faster you reply, the easier you cancel your plans. The more you say yes, the more invisible you become. And the moment you stop being so available, everything changes. Let's be honest. Being available feels like being kind. It feels like being loyal. It feels like being loving. But there's a thin line between being kind and being constantly accessible, between caring and overextending. When you're always available, people stop adjusting to you. They stop respecting your time. They stop appreciating your effort. Because what's always there is rarely valued. Scarcity creates value, not because you're playing games, but because your time is limited. Your energy is limited. Your presence is limited. And when you treat those things like they're unlimited, so does everyone else. Think about this. When you reply instantly every single time, you train people to expect it. When you always pick up the call, they assume you have nothing else going on. When you drop everything for someone, you quietly teach them that your life revolves around them. And that's not love. That's self-abandonment. Here's the truth most people don't talk about. Overavailability is often a fear response. Fear of losing them. Fear of being replaced. Fear of being forgotten. So you overgive. You overexplain. You overcompensate. You make yourself constantly reachable, so no one has a reason to leave. But ironically, that's exactly what lowers your value. Because attraction, whether in friendships, relationships, or even business, is built on respect. And respect is built on boundaries. When you stop being too available, you send a silent message. My time matters. My energy is valuable. My life does not revolve around you. And something powerful happens. People start adjusting. They start planning around you. They start respecting your schedule. They start noticing your absence. Because absence creates awareness. Let's go deeper. When you pull back, you don't lose the right people. You reveal them. The ones who only liked your convenience will slowly fade. The ones who truly value you will lean in. They'll check on you. They'll make effort. They'll show up. Not because you begged, but because they care. And that difference changes everything. Being less available doesn't mean being cold. It means being balanced. It means you don't reply immediately if you're busy. It means you don't cancel your gym session for a last-minute text. It means you don't say yes when you want to say no. It means your life has structure. And structure is attractive. Why? Because it signals stability, confidence, self-respect. High-value people are not always available. They have routines. They have priorities. They have goals. They don't chase every notification. They don't jump at every request. They choose. And choice is power. The moment you stop overextending, you feel something shift inside you. You stop waiting for messages. You stop obsessing over replies. You stop rearranging your life for crumbs of attention. Instead, you focus on yourself, your growth, your health, your purpose, your peace. And ironically, that's when people start noticing you more. Because nothing is more attractive than someone who is not desperate for attention. Let's be clear. This isn't about manipulation. It's about alignment. When your actions say, I value myself, the world responds differently. When you stop proving your worth, people start recognizing it. When you stop chasing, the right things move toward you. So what happens when you stop being too available? You gain clarity. You see who makes effort. You discover who only shows up when it's easy. You stop feeling drained. You start feeling powerful. You stop being an option. You become a priority. Why people stop valuing you? Have you ever felt it? That slow shift. At first, they appreciated you. They noticed your effort. They thanked you. They needed you. And then, something changed. The texts became shorter. The appreciation faded. The effort became one-sided. And you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? But maybe the better question is, what did you allow? People don't usually wake up one day and decide to stop valuing you. It happens gradually, quietly, subtly. And most of the time, it begins when you start overgiving without limits. When you make yourself too available, too understanding, too accommodating. You think you're being loving. But what you're actually doing is removing the challenge of earning you. Human nature is strange. We value what we invest in, not what is handed to us. When someone has to work for your time, they respect it. When someone has to earn your trust, they protect it. When someone risks losing you, they cherish you. But when you give everything too easily, there's nothing left to earn. Let's talk about effort. At the beginning of any relationship, friendship, romantic, even professional, there's mutual effort. Both sides show up. Both sides try. But if one person starts doing 80% and the other does 20%, that imbalance becomes normal. And whatever becomes normal stops being appreciated. You train them to expect it. Another reason people stop valuing you is this: you stop valuing yourself. You ignored your own boundaries. You said yes when you wanted to say no. You tolerated behavior that made you uncomfortable. You laughed off disrespect. Every time you accepted less than you deserved, you sent a message: this is okay. And people believe the standards you demonstrate, not the standards you speak. Here's a hard truth. People treat you according to the access you give them. If you're always available, they won't schedule around you. If you forgive instantly every time, they won't fear losing you. If you never walk away, they won't think you can. And when there are no consequences, respect slowly disappears. Let's go deeper. Sometimes, people stop valuing you because they got comfortable. Comfort isn't always a bad thing. But comfort without accountability turns into carelessness. They assume you'll always be there. They assume you'll always understand. They assume you'll never leave. And when someone feels 100% secure that they can't lose you, they stop trying to keep you. Another reason? You made them the center of your world. You prioritized them over your goals. You rearranged your schedule. You sacrificed your growth. And while you thought that would make them appreciate you more, it did the opposite. Because attractive energy comes from purpose, from independence, from having a life outside of someone else. When your world becomes too small, your value shrinks with it. Let's talk about over-explaining. When someone pulls away, you panic. You send long messages. You explain your feelings in detail. You try to fix everything immediately. But desperation reduces value. Calm confidence increases it. The more you try to convince someone to value you, the less they feel the need to. Because true value doesn't beg to be recognized. It simply is. Sometimes people stop valuing you because you stayed after the first red flag. The first time they disrespected you. The first time they cancelled without care. The first time they ignored your feelings. You stayed. And staying told them there are no consequences. And without consequences, behavior repeats. But here's something empowering. When people stop valuing you, it's not always a loss. It's information. It shows you who was attached to your convenience and who was attached to you. It reveals who only valued what you gave instead of who you are. And that clarity is powerful. So how do you regain your value? You stop overgiving. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop chasing. You stop proving. You create boundaries, quietly. You focus on your growth. You rebuild your self-respect. And something interesting happens. The energy shifts. People notice your distance. They notice your calm. They notice that you're no longer trying to force anything. And suddenly, they start adjusting. But here's the key. You don't change to make them value you again. You change because you value yourself. If they rise to meet you, good. If they don't, even better. Because your worth was never supposed to depend on someone else's recognition. At the end of the day, people stop valuing you when you forget that you are valuable, when you tolerate less, when you accept crumbs, when you abandon your own standards. But the moment you remember who you are, the moment you stand firm, the moment you become willing to lose what disrespects you, everything changes. You don't need to chase respect. You demonstrate it. You don't need to beg for attention. You command it through boundaries. You don't need everyone to value you. Just the right ones. And the right ones never require you to shrink yourself, to be kept. Becoming a priority, not an option. There's a quiet pain in being someone's option. You're there, but not first. Important, but replaceable. Present, but never prioritized. They call you when they're bored. They text you when it's convenient. They choose you when nothing better is available. And the hardest part? You accept it, because you don't want to lose them. But here's the truth. The moment you accept being an option, you teach people that's all you are. Becoming a priority doesn't start with demanding attention. It starts with self-respect. It starts with deciding that your time, your energy, and your presence are not backup plans. People don't randomly choose who to prioritize. They prioritize what feels valuable, what feels scarce, what feels like it could be lost. And if you're always there no matter what, if you tolerate last-minute plans, if you accept inconsistent effort, you remove the fear of losing you. And without that fear, there's no urgency to treat you differently. Let's talk about effort. When someone sees you as a priority, they plan around you. They make time. They communicate clearly. They don't leave you guessing. But when you're an option, everything feels uncertain. Mixed signals, delayed replies, cancelled plans. You find yourself overthinking. Am I asking for too much? No. You're asking for basic respect. But you've been settling for less. The shift happens when you stop chasing clarity from people who enjoy keeping you confused. You stop sending that extra message. You stop over-explaining. You stop trying to prove your worth. Because here's something powerful. You don't become a priority by convincing someone. You become a priority by becoming unavailable to inconsistency. Read that again. Unavailable to inconsistency. When you start valuing your own time, you naturally become harder to access. Not because you're playing games, but because you're building a life. You have goals. You have routines. You have standards. You don't drop everything for temporary attention anymore. And suddenly, the dynamic changes. Let's be honest. Sometimes we stay options because we're afraid to walk away. We think, what if I lose them? But what are you really losing? Someone who only shows up when it suits them? Someone who keeps you on standby? That's not a loss. That's space being cleared. And space is necessary for better things to enter. Becoming a priority also means setting boundaries. If someone cancels last minute repeatedly, you stop rearranging your schedule. If someone replies only when bored, you stop being instantly available. If someone disrespects you, you address it calmly, firmly, not with anger, not with desperation, but with confidence. Because confidence says, I'm willing to walk away from what doesn't align. And nothing commands respect more than someone who can walk away. Here's a powerful truth. The right people will never make you compete for their attention. They won't make you question your place. They won't treat you like a convenience. If you constantly feel like you're fighting to matter, you're fighting in the wrong place. When you focus on yourself, truly focus, something shifts inside you. You stop checking your phone every 5 minutes. You stop waiting for validation. You start investing in your growth, your health, your mindset, your purpose. And that energy is magnetic, because people are drawn to those who don't desperately need them. Becoming a priority isn't about control. It's about standards. It's about understanding that love, friendship, and respect should feel mutual, balanced, secure, not anxious, not uncertain, not one-sided. And the moment you refuse to accept less, you naturally filter out those who can't rise to meet you. But here's the final shift. You don't become a priority in someone else's life until you become a priority in your own. If you neglect your goals for others, if you sacrifice your peace for attention, if you ignore your boundaries for approval, you are telling the world, everyone else comes first, and the world listens. So flip it. Choose yourself. Honor your time. Protect your energy. Build your life so full that no one can casually step in and treat you as temporary. And watch what happens. Some people will step up. Some will step out. Both are blessings. Because becoming a priority isn't about forcing people to choose you. It's about becoming someone who only accepts being chosen properly. There comes a moment in your life when you get tired. Not physically tired. Emotionally tired. Tired of chasing. Tired of explaining. Tired of proving your worth. Tired of being the only one trying. And in that quiet moment, something shifts. You realize? Maybe it's not them that needs to change. Maybe it's you. Everything changes. When you change what you tolerate, everything changes. When you stop begging for what should be given freely, everything changes. When you finally understand your value, is not determined by someone else's attention. For so long, you tried to hold things together. You overgave. You overextended. You overexplained. You thought if you just loved harder, tried harder, stayed longer, things would improve. But the truth is, you cannot force someone to see your worth. By shrinking yourself to fit into their comfort, the real transformation begins. The moment you decide, I will no longer abandon myself. That's when everything changes. When you stop answering immediately, just to feel important. When you stop saying yes. When your heart is screaming no. When you stop chasing people who are comfortable watching you chase. That's when your power returns. You see, the world responds to energy. When you operate from fear of loss, you lose. When you operate from confidence and self-respect, you attract. The moment you stop needing validation, you become validated. The moment you stop seeking approval, you become approved. The moment you stop fighting for a place in someone's life, you create space for those who will fight for you. It won't feel easy at first. You'll question yourself. You'll wonder if you're being too distant, too cold, too unavailable. But you're not. You're adjusting your standards. And standards feel uncomfortable to people who benefited from your lack of them. Remember that. Some people will call it ego. When you finally choose yourself, some people will say you've changed. And they'll be right. You did change. You grew. You matured. You stopped accepting crumbs when you deserve the whole table. The most powerful shift in life is silent. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's internal. It's when you decide, I deserve better, and then you act accordingly. That decision alone rearranges your entire world. Your circle changes. Your confidence grows. Your standards rise. Your peace expands. And suddenly, everything changes. So if you're watching this right now, let this be the moment. The moment you stop settling. The moment you stop shrinking. The moment you stop proving. The moment you stop chasing. And start choosing yourself. Because when you choose yourself, you don't lose people. You lose what was holding you back. And that loss is actually freedom. Everything changes. The day you remember that you are not an option. You are value. You are priority. You are enough. And you always were.